Let it be. But me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to Washington Football Overtime. I, of course, am your set man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Washington falls to the Cleveland Browns. 34-20 in a very, very winnable football game. Similar to last week, turnovers were the story. A little bit more so this week. A number of things to take away from this game. Some really damaging injuries potentially. Ioannidis gets hurt. Chase Young gets hurt. Dontrell Inman gets hurt. Ryan Anderson gets hurt. We could be in some trouble injury-wise for quite some time because right away, Chase Young was ruled out of this game. It's probably a groin. That could keep him out for at least a month. Easy. You know, we may not see him until after the bye week. The bye week isn't until, I think, like week 9 or 10. I don't even know what happened to Ioannidis, but he did not return to this game. He did not look good walking back to the locker room, walking very gingerly. And we lost all interior pressure when Ioannidis went down. You see there's a stark contrast between him and all of the rest of the interior defensive linemen that we have in terms of getting to the quarterback. He almost had a sack very early in this game when he had a beautiful secondary spin move, almost got to Baker Mayfield, forced him to get rid of the football sooner than he wanted to. And after he left the game, there was really nothing there from the interior in terms of one-on-one matchups. Now, they did do a solid job of collapsing the pocket, and we'll have film breakdown this week looking at what the defense was able to do. It's a disappointing effort from the defense from this standpoint. They wore down at the end. I can't blame them for giving up 34 when the offense is setting up the other team's offense in great field position and you're put into a sudden change of possession situation. However, the elite defenses, and we're not an elite defense, okay? Let's not fool ourselves. But elite defenses find a way to at least force a field goal or two in some of those situations. We weren't able to do that. Every time the Browns forced a turnover and got great field position, they were able to get into the end zone. At some point, you have to bow your back and find a way to get a stop. Find a way to make them settle for a field goal. You know, we just weren't able to do that today. And so that's really disappointing, but I'm not here to talk about the defense and kill them. We'll talk about them during the course of the week. They wore down. You could see they were fatigued. We didn't have the depth that we normally would have with all the injuries, and it wore them down, and they started to run the football a lot more effectively. I thought the officiating was horrible. I can't stand that officiating crew. If you watched me on Monday, this was the same officiating crew from Monday Night Football. Any crew headed up by Sean Hockley, which is Ed Hockley's son, they're going to call a lot of penalties, and unnecessarily at that. A lot of ticky-tackers, and the one on Terry was bullshit. And then to make it worse, Landon Collins gets run into by a Browns defender. And this is late in the game. I mean, this is really inconsequential. On that one-handed grab, he gets run into there, and they don't call anything. So I thought it was a really poorly game officiated. It kind of slanted towards the Browns here, but that's no here nor there. We didn't lose this game because of officiating. Let's not go down that rabbit hole. Let's talk about what a lot of you want to talk about, and that's Dwayne Haskins. And I've talked about patience with Dwayne, all right? And I'm going to continue to preach patience, but your patience runs thin. And I've told you this before. You know when you see it. You know when a guy has it, all right? It doesn't take much for you to realize when a guy can play in this league at a very high level and when he can't. And I'm starting to lean towards Dwayne Haskins being a guy that can't play in this league at a high level. And that's fine. If that's what he is as a quarterback, if he's a backup quarterback, so be it. But right now, I'm starting to lean towards he can't play at a high level in this league. Now, I'm going to continue to remain patient with him. All right, this is the third game of the season. He hasn't even started a full 16-game slate in the NFL. I'm not going to just bag on him like a lot of you already are. But it's getting very late early for Dwayne Haskins in his career. It's getting very late early for him. This is a really bad showing, really poor. And it's not just the interceptions that we're talking about here. Those aren't the sole reason why I feel like this guy can't do it. There's a number of things that were troubling, very alarming in this football game from Dwayne Haskins. First, you got to start with the interceptions. Got to start with the turnovers. The one thing that I was able to hang my hat on, the one thing that I was clinging to with Dwayne Haskins was hey, look, he may be struggling. He may be missing some guys. He may not put touch on the football. He may be staring receivers down. He may not have extreme athleticism. He may not protect the football in the pocket when he gets hit. There are a lot of things that you could have been complaining about with Dwayne. All right. But he wasn't turning the football over. Excuse me. And because he wasn't turning the football over, we were going to have chances to win because this defense is good enough. And you saw it today. We gave the Browns the game. I wasn't impressed with the Cleveland Browns today. I wasn't impressed. We didn't make Baker Mayfield. That was one of the keys to the game. Make Baker Mayfield beat us. I don't think he can. He didn't show me anything today. All he did was turn around and hand the football off. That's what got us beat today. Was we couldn't stop the run after the defense gave it up. Or excuse me, the offense gave it up. When you look at Baker Mayfield's day today, he didn't do anything to us. It was the ground game of the Browns. It was our inability to protect short fields after the offense imploded. And so one of the biggest things we said was we can't turn the football over. We're not good enough. We're just not a good enough team right now. And we knew this coming into the season. It's going to be a long year. For those of you who didn't think it was going to be a long year, you were sadly mistaken. It's going to be a long year. But it doesn't have to be as bad because we can control certain things like turnovers. We can control those. And when you have 5 of them, and the one of them was right before half, I was nitpicking in the film study last week with Antonio Gibson. I'm going to nitpick again. Stop carrying the football on the inside hand. This is what happens when you're not a natural running back. He's not used to having to shift ball hands, and it's killing him. We'll talk about that during the film study. I'll bring it up again. But 4 turnovers from Dwayne Haskins today, 3 interceptions, 1 forced fumble. And the bad part about his turnovers today was, one, they were egregious. They were absolutely horrid. Okay, we've seen the overthrow story a million times. That story I don't think is going to change. That's part of the reason I'm starting to lean towards Dwayne Haskins isn't a true NFL starting quarterback, because we've seen this story from the ball sailing over a receiver's head by 5 yards narrative. We've seen that already. And it doesn't seem like that's going to change. He just fails to be able to put touch on the football. Okay, so that first interception was egregious, and that killed all the moment. We were up 7-3. We were dominating the game at that time. From a defensive standpoint, Cleveland hadn't gotten anything going. We were moving the football offensively. We talked about getting off to a better start. Well, that was a good start. We weren't high profiling it up and down the field offensively. We didn't hit the big plays. I told you we needed to have some chunk plays. We didn't have a bunch of chunk plays in this game. But we were moving the football methodically, and that first interception was an absolute backbreaker, because not only did he turn over, and had Carl Joseph gotten tackled where he caught it, okay, it's like a punt. But instead, he runs it back deep into Washington territory, and it sets the Browns up for a touchdown, and they end up scoring. And we couldn't get off the field because we couldn't stop their run game. So they get in the end zone. Then they get in the end zone again. All right, after another Dwayne interception. And this one was even worse than the first one, because this time he's staring the guy down. Like, seriously, what are you doing? You're inviting. It's like he might as well had typed up an invite to the linebacker there, Malcolm Smith. Hey, I'm going to throw the football here to my tight end. I think it was the tight end. Might have been the wide receiver. Hey, going to throw the football right here. You're really invited. You're more than welcome to come over here and pick it off if you want. I'm going to stare him down. Just follow my eyes. I'll take you right to the football. And young quarterbacks make that mistake, but that's egregious. I mean, that's as bad as it gets. His eyes never left that target, and it took Malcolm Smith right to the football as an easy pick. Then, and that turned into a touchdown. But then it's not just the interceptions. The interception in the second half to Goodson, what are you looking at, dude? Seriously, I get it, 3rd and long. What are you looking at, though? I don't even know if that pass is completed, even if he's not there, but what are you looking at? Did you not see the underneath defender there? Terry's open in the slot, all right, on the same route. It's essentially a 15-yard sit down. But what are you doing? Like, why are you forcing the ball here? Like, I just don't get it. And, it's amazing because those 3 interceptions happened, and they were egregious, every single one of them. But then I might have been more upset, and then he came back and made a play where I'm saying, see, this is why I'm on the fence with him. Is that miss to Terry in the end zone? I gotta have that, man. We can't afford to miss those. Good NFL quarterbacks don't miss those. Terry's open back of the end zone. I need it. I need that. I'm not asking for it. I have to have it. That's not optional. I need it. He overthrows him. No arc, no touch, no feel, just a bullet in the corner. Terry can't get to it. Now he comes back on the very next snap, looks off the safety, and throws a BB to Inman in the back of the end zone for a touchdown. Best throw of the day. Not even close. And it was great eye manipulation, everything. And I'm saying, dude, why can't we get this more consistently? Okay, so we know it's here. But those types of mistakes are the ones that absolutely drive you nuts. Those misses. He throws a screen. He throws a flare to the flats to Gibson. And we shouldn't even call it a flare. At this point, these are C4 rockets he's throwing, okay? No arc, no touch to allow a guy to run under it and have a full head of steam. Gibson has to literally go full wide receiver and snatch it out of the air. He's stumbling, barely able to keep his balance because Dwayne's throwing a 97-mile-an-hour fastball to a guy that's literally 5 yards away from him to the outside with no defender there. What are you doing, man? Seriously, why can't you put touch on the football? I know the coaches are banging this into your skull, and you seem to not be able to put in. He may be incapable of putting real touch on the football. Maybe that's something he's not capable of doing. But it's alarming because you're going to miss throws in this league that require touch. You cannot just throw a 99-mile-an-hour fastball with hot sauce to go every time you're looking to hit a receiver. Sometimes touch is required. And so, it's not just the interceptions. It's not the staring down of receivers. It's the repeated misses. There's a play to the outside where he's got to come back to a wide receiver, and he throws it 5 yards over his head. Like, can you not throw an out-breaking route without airmailing it? And the protection was good today. Outside of Jaron Christian getting beat late, the protection was fantastic today. No excuses. A lot of you wanted to rely on, the offensive line. I told you this line was not as bad as you thought. They protected today. He had time, ample time to go wherever he wanted, go through multiple reads. Again, this Browns football team, not impressive. Not impressive. But what they did was what we did in week 1. They didn't turn the football over. They let the other team implode. We self-destructed and they just sat back and watched. And that's what you do. If a bad team is going to be a bad team, let them be a bad team. And that's what we were today. A bad football team. And they decided, guess what? We don't have to do much here. Baker doesn't have to do much. All we got to do is take advantage of these gifts that they're giving us, and we'll win this football game, and we'll win it comfortably. And that's exactly what happened. And it's a shame because it didn't have to be this way. This game didn't have to go the way that it did. And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know when we win again. I guess the Giants in week 6, if you're starting to look ahead, because you got the Rams and the Ravens coming up. I think the Ravens are next week. The Rams are after that, and then it's the Giants. You're losing the next 2 games for sure. So you're now sitting after a 1-0 start. You're now 1-4. So this was a game you had to get if you wanted to try to have a season this year, to be competitive, to have a chance to get to December and still be playing meaningful football. You needed to get this one. And I told you we were going to find out a lot about this team. I saw a lot out of this team. This team is going to fight this year. I'm not worried about this team and the competitive spirit of this football team. The score doesn't indicate how close this ball game was because we threw it away late. But I'm going to tell you this right now. This Ron Rivera not calling timeouts at the end of the game, this shit is getting old fast. And I'm all for Ron's plan, but this whole, last week, the whole I don't want to get injured. This week it probably makes a little bit more sense since we were dropping like flies today. But I don't give a shit about that. I don't care about that. If you're trying to change the culture of a football team, you send the wrong message when you don't call timeouts at the end of ball games. They don't have to ask him about it this week because he answered it last week, and his answer is going to remain the same this week. I just don't agree with it. I'm probably going to stop talking about it because this is obviously how he's going to conduct business this year. And maybe if he had a quarterback that he trusts, a guy that could actually bring the team back and not turn it over more, maybe he'd be more inclined to call some timeouts. Like, at the end of the first half, that was horrible. Like, it was like 35 seconds or whatever left. I know a lot of teams that with that much time and all your timeouts remaining, I'm looking to try to get in the field goal range. They give it to Antonio Gibson. He could have gotten 10. Instead, he slides to stay in bounds. Did you tell him to stay in bounds? That you wanted to get to half? If that's the case, just take a goddamn knee then. What are you running a play for? If that's the case, if you're going to tell your guy to slide in bounds as if we're protecting a lead with our 4-minute offense in the fourth quarter, if you're going to tell him to do that, you might as well just take a goddamn knee. So then after that, you run another play. What are you running another play for? Okay, you obviously are trying to stay in bounds to run the clock. So what are you running another play for? Then he gets another chunk play and he fumbles. What are we doing? Okay, so I got a lot of issues with the way some of this stuff is handled. End of the first half, end of the game. That to me is piss poor. It's trash. All right, and it sends the wrong message that we're not trying to win. Even when it doesn't look like we got a shot, I'm not giving up. You're telling the team, I don't believe in you. This game's over, and I don't give you any chance to mount any kind of a comeback. And maybe that's an indictment on the quarterback. Maybe if he had a guy that he trusted in, he wouldn't feel that way at the end of the first half. Maybe he wouldn't feel that way at the end of a game, that there's no way we're coming back because we're not getting any explosive plays. All right, we haven't had one this season. We don't have a play over 40 yards this season. I'd venture to say we don't have a play over 30 yards this season. I don't think we have one. So we're not getting explosive plays, so we don't have a quick strike offense. So from that standpoint, you kind of get it because in order to get in the end zone, we're going to need 8 to 12 plays, more likely than not. So I still don't like it. I'm just going to say that. But when you talk about Dwayne Haskins, right now, when I look at this football team, I'm leaning towards we don't have the guy of the future right now. I'm leaning more towards that than I am that we have the guy and that we need to start surrounding him with more talent. Speaking of which, let's talk about some guys that had good games, and then we'll get to some of your comments. I thought Montez Sweat was awesome. If he wants to take his game to the next level, this is where he differs from a Chase Young. You got to go after the football. That sack, that intentional grounding that he forced Baker Mayfield into, that's a strip sack forced fumble right there. You're hawking him down. He knows you're coming, but he doesn't know how close you are. You got to get your hand look like what happened with Myles Garrett at the end of the game. Myles Garrett went right for the football. Look, when you're an elite pass rusher, the sack is good. That's good. But if you're elite, the ball is better. That's what I'm looking for. Chase Young always talks about, look, I'm going for the football. And we saw him force a couple of fumbles in week 1. You have to go after the ball there if you're Montez Sweat. You can't be satisfied with just the sack. That can't be enough. The ball is the objective there. But he had an outstanding game in the run game. He had an outstanding game. We didn't have anybody else. Honestly speaking, after Chase Young and Ioannidis left the game, the pass rush looked like without Sweat. We essentially were the defense we were from last year. It was tough because I knew we're not going to get a lot of pressure now. And Sweat was the only guy that was able to muster anything. Kerrigan didn't do anything. Allen had a sack on the third down, but that was a stunt that he got it on. He didn't beat his man one-on-one. Deron Payne, nothing in that department. Ryan Anderson, we got nothing. We got nothing. When Young leaves and Ioannidis, I would have been fine. If Young left and Ioannidis was still there, the way Sweat was playing, I would have still felt like, hey, we going to bag Baker at least 2 more times in this game. But once Ioannidis, now you're taking the one guy that can win on the interior, and now we don't have our stud on the edge, even though Sweat played his ass off today. It was just rough. So the injuries are a problem, but Sweat played his ass off. How about Isaiah Wright? Man, he looked good today. And really, he got this opportunity because we could tell Steven Sims was not right. They didn't want to put him out there, really, unless they had to, unless guys were tired. That's when Steven Sims subbed into this game. But for the most part, they really tried to keep him out of the mix. He just returned kicks, and that was pretty much it because they didn't want him to re-aggravate whatever injury he came into the game with. And so Isaiah Wright took that opportunity and made the most of it. I was impressed with him. He looks really good. Run after the catch, physicality, good hands. I was thoroughly impressed with him. He did, and this is what you get with young teams. You get Inman, and he's not a young guy. Okay, stupid penalty, but you score a touchdown, and he wants to flex right in front of the defender. Come on, dude. Seriously, what are we doing right now? That's a dumb penalty. That's what young dumb teams get. You get Isaiah Wright stepping out of bounds on a good throw from Dwayne, one of the few on a rollout, on play action, on bootleg, and he steps out of bounds. Like, really, guy? Seriously? You don't know where you're at on the field? But he's a young guy. I mean, I'm not gonna kill him for that, but that's a young man move right there. Gandy Golden with a drop. I need it. It wasn't the best throw, but guess what? It was catchable. I need it. So we're a young team. Kerrigan, you're a veteran. We need our veterans to step up. 4th down and 4, and you jump off sides. Really? Seriously? What are you going to do? Are you going to stop the run? What are you going to get to the quarterback? Like, what are you doing? Where are you going? Like, what are we doing right now? So, still a very young football team trying to figure some things out. No excuses, though, for 5 turnovers. Again, when you make mistakes like Isaiah Wright stepping out of bounds or Gandy Golden not catching the football, you could chalk that up to youth. When you have 3 interceptions, you get beat off the edge like Christian did for 4. And look, that's an elite pass rusher there. One of the best in the business in Myles Garrett. All right. But when you get beat off the edge for a turnover there, these are all avoidable. These are all avoidable mistakes. And we made them in this game, and you pay for those types of mistakes. You're not beating anybody with 5 turnovers unless you're forcing 3 or 4 of them yourself. And we forced 0 today. Apke had a chance to force a turnover. Ball went right through his hands, hit him in his face. All right, and he probably wasn't going to catch it anyway. Odell Beckham was right there. Probably would have knocked it away. And speaking of knocking away, if Isaiah Wright doesn't knock away an interception early from, I think it was Denzel Ward, that's another interception for Dwayne in this game. So it could have easily been 4 for Dwayne in this game. He was not good. And, there are times where he gets into a rhythm. When we go up-tempo, he looks good. But everything is short to intermediate. And you can't live off of just throwing short passes. You got to be able to get some chunk plays at some point. We can't cringe every time you throw the football down the field. That can't be the case. And right now, every time he's loading up for a pass 15 yards or further, I cringe. Is this another interception? And I shouldn't feel that way. So I'm losing confidence in his ability to be the starting quarterback of this team moving forward. I am slowly losing confidence. I've not given up on him. I know a lot of you have. And it's easy. When you're in the moment, I had a viewer the other day say, all right, what I got to do is, I'm a sore loser. He says, I admit it. I'm a sore loser too. You know that. I told you guys this. And so when you're in the moment, the emotions are running high, and you don't want to hear any excuses. You just want results. And when you see performances like this, your patience runs thin, or you lose all of it. I am able to keep a level head even in the moment, but I am telling you, as we sit here in week 3, I am beginning to feel like this is not the guy moving forward. I have not given up on him. I see the talent. I know it exists. Even saw plays in this game that exhibit the kind of talent that makes you say, this guy can do it. The throw to Logan Thomas on 4th and 2 with the pocket crumbling around him, that's a big boy throw, okay? That's an extend the play, find a way on 4th and 2 to make the first down. That's a hell of a throw off of a unbalanced platform, which he does very often, and it's an accurate throw to your guy for a first down. That's a big play, okay? We saw some of that from him today, but we saw a lot more mistakes than the big plays, and that's a problem because this is becoming a consistent theme now where you're not seeing the growth, you're not seeing the development, you're seeing him repeat the same mistakes. They talk about this guy being a non-mistake repeater. Well, I can't tell, and some of it may be physical limitations. Maybe he just can't put touch on the football. That may be a thing. I know guys that just seem to not be able to do it. Cam Newton is a great example. Doesn't put touch on the football very often. And Dwayne Haskins may be another one of those guys. But his inability to hit open targets in parts of the field where they're not just screaming wide open, where it's not a short pass, his inability to hit a guy on the move is becoming alarming. And in this league where wide open is having a step on a defender, you can't afford to miss some of these opportunities. Terry in the end zone, you can't miss that throw. You can't. A guy in the flats running a flare route, You can't throw it to him where he doesn't have to stumble and leave his feet. He's got to go make a miraculous catch just to corral a football. So he can't even try to make a defender miss. He's stumbling, fumbling forward because he had to make such an acrobatic catch just to catch it out of the backfield. Give your guys a chance. He's not. You know, that interception to Malcolm Smith was so egregious. I mean, literally, as he got the football, he is staring down his receiver. Eyes never leave him. That is an absolute no-no. Unbelievable. Anyway, I digress. Let's get to your comments. We'll have more on this tomorrow, obviously on Washington Football Nightly, and the film study will be really, really big. So if you're not on Patreon, go ahead, join Patreon, become a patron so you don't miss the film breakdown that we'll be doing on the offense and the defense. I can tell you right now, the defense, they held up for as long as they could, but with all of these key guys missing and the offense continuing to put them in tough spots, they just simply got worn down. They came out in the second half and they gave us a chance in this game, and they allowed us to score 14 or 13 on it. And look, Dustin, stop missing extra points and field goals, bro. All right, like, had this game come down to the wire, that 1 point would have been really, really influential. Make your extra points. It was a windy day. Their kicker made all his kicks. I don't want to hear any excuses. Make your damn kicks. But at the end of the day, the defense gave us a shot, and it was almost like a role reversal. We've been awesome in the third quarter this year. One of our best quarters has been the third quarter. Our problem is sustaining that kind of success. And we actually came out in the third quarter, played well, and then the defense and the offense kind of both reverted back to the first half Washington football team, where the defense is playing their asses off, but they can't get a stop. And I'll tell you what the big possession was. We take the lead. And in baseball, they call this a shutdown inning, where you take the lead at the bottom half of the inning or the top. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter where you're batting. And now you need your pitcher to come out and shut it down. Keep that lead intact. Call it a shutdown inning. We needed a shutdown drive from the defense, up 20-17. And you know what they did? They let Baker Mayfield complete a 3rd and 6 for about 13. That was the end of the third quarter. And then we allowed them to systematically run the ball down our throats. I mean, literally, that 24-20 drive where they took the lead, they literally ran, and there was no excuses there. They weren't tired then. They literally ran the football down our throats. We knew what was coming. I think Baker Mayfield might have had 2 passing attempts on what was like a 10 or 11 play drive. They literally ran the football down our throats. It was disgusting to watch. Absolutely disgusting. That was the first time this season that I literally watched the defense and threw up in my mouth. That reminded me of defenses of old. That was horrible because all the offensive momentum that we had, you killed it with that defensive drive. You allowed them to just absolutely gut us on the ground and then cap it off with a touchdown. And then offensively, we weren't able to respond. All right, that's when Dwayne throws another pick. They score another touchdown, and that's when the game pretty much was out of hand. Let's get to your comments quickly. We'll get out of here. King of the North, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, King of the North, who writes, if Dwayne doesn't show a little improvement by midseason, then Ron should bench him. Remember, Dwayne was not a Kyle Smith pick. Let Kyle pick us. Let's go down a little bit. I guess you were saying let Kyle pick us a quarterback. Yeah, a QB. I mean, he was there for that. Kyle Smith was a part of the brain trust. But remember, that was a to your point, that was a Daniel Snyder pick. He came in and overruled all of the draft guys and said, we're picking Dwayne Haskins. So I don't know if Kyle Smith was high on Dwayne. A lot of us weren't. I wasn't. Initially, I saw some things last year that really lifted my spirits, but I wasn't a Dwayne Haskins guy. You go back and watch my draft breakdown of him. I wasn't initially stoked with the pick. I wasn't stoked with him as a quarterback coming out of Ohio State. I thought there were a lot of things fundamentally wrong with his game. But once he got here last year and showed us those flashes at the end of the season against Philadelphia and the Giants, I said, man, this is a guy that has something to him. And we're just not seeing that right now. We're not seeing the improvement. And I keep trying to find things to cling to. And Chris Cooley I remember once upon a time he said this. He said when he was in the league and he played in multiple offenses, he said it always took him a year to get really comfortable in an offense to the point where he could just go out and play and then start, improving on, different things. It took him a year to stop thinking and just be able to go out and play. Hear the play call, know exactly what his job is, and now be able to kind of freelance a little bit or maybe be able to add a little bit of a twist to whatever it is he has to do to get better at it. When you think about Dwayne, he's had 3 different offenses in 2 years. It's tough. I'm not looking to make excuses because, again, it's one thing if you don't know where to go with the football. It's another thing where you're just missing guys. Like, that doesn't have anything to do with 3 different, playbooks in 2 years. That's just you not being able to be accurate with the football. That's a problem. So I totally get where you're coming from there with allowing Kyle to pick us a quarterback. And if this continues, if he continues to play this way, we'll be picking high enough to get us a quarterback next year. We'll be looking for a guy. And so Dwayne, like I said, it's getting early late. This staff owes Dwayne Haskins nothing. And look, I'm not rushing them to make a decision. Some of you want him benched for what? We're not winning anything this year. Nothing. We're not winning a damn thing this year. So I'm not rushing to go to bench him to go to Kyle Allen. Kyle Allen is capable of a 5 turnover game. He did it last year plenty of times for the Carolina Panthers. If we're going to have 5 turnover games, it needs to be with Dwayne Haskins in there so they can definitively say, because right now you still can't say with 100% certainty that he's not the right guy. Some of you have already made that determination, and I'm not going to sit here and try to convince you otherwise. But you can't say with 100% certainty that he can't do it right now. I'm leaning towards that, but there's still wiggle room, okay? So you can't say, you got to allow him to continue to show you that there's no way that this guy is the answer at the quarterback position. Right now, it's trending in that direction, but we're not there yet. Thank you for the super chat, King of the North. Got another super chat. This one is from Rob U. Thank you for the super chat, Rob U, as always, who writes, all 3 interceptions were terrible. Same mistake over and over again. All 3 interceptions were egregious. That's the thing. Like, there wasn't a tip ball or, man, that's a hell of a play by that defender. All 3 of these interceptions were avoidable. All 3 of these interceptions were ugly. And all 3 of these interceptions are something that we've seen before from Dwayne Haskins, whether it's an overthrow, an egregious, hideous overthrow on the first one, the staring down of a receiver on the second one. And then the third one, honestly, I just want to know what you're looking at there. Inman is over the middle of the field. I don't really know why you thought that's where you needed to go with the football. Terry's open in the slot, but again, you're staring down. Inman, you took the linebacker right to the football. I don't know what he thinks is going to happen when he just stares down a target and doesn't look off backers and safeties. I just don't know what he thinks is going to occur. Thank you for that super chat, Rob. Farrah Cody, thank you for the super chat. Farrah writes, on the halftime show, they were making fun of Haskins throwing the ball high, shaking my head. LOL, did you see it? No. I always mute the TV at halftime. I don't need to hear anybody talking about anything at halftime. So I didn't hear any of that. And I don't watch any post game, halftime, none of that shit. I don't indulge in any of that stuff. Whether we win or lose, I usually don't partake in any of it. Thank you for that super chat, Farrah Cody. Got another super chat here. This one is from Joe Rockhead J. Thank you for the super chat, Joe Rockhead J. Greatly appreciate you. Joe Rockhead writes, where's the so-called discipline? So I don't know exactly what instance you are pointing to, but there are a couple of instances where you could say lack of discipline with this team. I didn't see a bunch of big-time penalties by this team that hurt us in this game. Like I said, the Kerrigan offsides late, that can't happen, especially for a veteran player there. Watch the football. But, the Terry pass interference to OPI, that was trash. That was a bad call. We didn't have a bunch of back-breaking penalties in this game that helped the Browns out, helped them sustain drives. We really haven't been that penalized this season, to be honest with you. I think we had one holding penalty on Wes Martin. I thought that that was one penalty that we had, but really we didn't have any egregious penalties The one thing I would say, the one criticism I have of Ron Rivera right now is quitting. To me, I call that quitting at the end of games. No, you're probably not going to win. There's probably a 97% chance, maybe even 98, 99% chance you're not going to win. I don't give a shit. That to me is quitting. You're quitting on your team when you don't use your timeouts. I don't want to hear the excuse of, oh, we wanted to get out of the game with injuries. If guys are going to get hurt, they're going to get hurt. And, look, yeah, you might be a little bit more pissed off if a guy gets hurt in a 34-20 game with 37 seconds left. Yeah, maybe you are pissed off. You say, why are you doing that? But, hey, like I said, I want to see guys fighting to the very end. I don't care how bitter it may be. I want guys fighting to the very end. And you just don't see that with Ron Rivera right now. But I don't see a lack of discipline here with this football team. I just didn't see that. Got another super chat from Rob U. Thank you for doubling up. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Rob U, who writes, defense is solid, but offense can't even give them a chance. Landon Collins in coverage is hard to watch. Carl Joseph would have been a nice pickup. I wanted Carl Joseph. I thought that was a guy that, in the offseason would have been a nice quiet move, but they didn't want to go in that direction. And they look at Joseph as a similar player to Landon Collins, but he's got a little bit more range than Landon Collins does. At the end of the day, we're stuck with Landon. I like Landon Collins. Again, you just need a free safety to tag team with him that you are comfortable with, because Landon's best in the box. And so I don't have a Landon Collins issue. I don't. But Carl Joseph, you look at the Browns, and they got a couple of guys that I thought were some really nice pickups in free agency that would have really helped this team. Obviously, Austin Hooper was a guy that we were interested in as fans. Carl Joseph is another one of those guys that I looked at and said he wouldn't have been a bad acquisition to throw into the mix either. But, that's nor here nor there, honestly speaking. Thank you for the super chat once again, Rob U. Got another one here from Trevor Patch. Thank you for the super chat, Trevor Patch. I greatly appreciate you. Trevor writes, wanted to see some more skill positions. I'm happy. I'll stay reserved on Haskins until the season is over, but some candy I'm seeing on Saturdays. There's some guys available. At multiple positions. It's gonna suck if Dwayne's not the guy, because then you're going to be forced to spend your first round pick on a quarterback. And I really wanted to start looking at tight ends like Pitts out of Florida, like Jordan out of Miami. I wanted to start looking at some of these tight ends and some of these other guys at other positions that we could use an upgrade at, and start drooling over some of these other guys. And now we may have to spend this first round pick. And we may have to even, depending, because, again, for as bad as this is, I still think we're going to win 6 or 7 games this year. And if you win that many games, you're not going to be drafting in a position to get one of these quarterbacks. You're going to have to trade up. And so we're going to probably have to not only spend the first round pick, we're probably going to have to spend that extra third that we got in the deal with Minnesota, and so, or San Francisco, excuse me. The Trent deal. We're probably going to have to spend that second, third round pick that we have, the extra capital that we've been stashing away. We're going to have to spend some of that. You may have to give up a first, a second, a future second, or a first and, both of your thirds, or something along those lines, depending on how far away we are to get what we need. So if Haskins doesn't show us something this season, and it's not trending in that direction right now, but if he doesn't show us something this season, then you're going to have to spend that pick. And that sucks, because it takes away from being able to spend in a different position. But, also it resets that clock that you have in terms of a rookie contract with a quarterback and then building around that quarterback. It resets that clock, because Haskins is in year 2. And so, theoretically, you'd have 3 more years of not having to spend big money on a quarterback at this point. But if you draft another guy, and I don't want to keep doing this, I want to find a guy, get settled in, and start building for the future. Every time you hit the reset button at the quarterback position, you push back the amount of time that you have to turn things around. You're resetting that deadline that you've set. Like we're talking about being competitive next year. You're not competitive next year if you're looking to draft a rookie quarterback. You're not competitive next year. You're back to being another one of these teams that's building again. We're back in the same spot we're in right now if we draft a quarterback next year. And that's what you have to understand. If you hit the reset button, now again, you could hit it big on one of these guys, but you're still not going to necessarily have that guy come in and be ready unless the defense takes a monumental step. I don't see that happening either, especially if we can't stay relatively healthy and build that continuity that you need on the defensive side of the football with guys continuing to get snaps. So thank you for the super chat, Trevor Patch. Jordan Light the GOAT, thank you for the super chat. Jordan writes, Haskins should have thrown 5 interceptions today. Unacceptable. Easily could have thrown 4 for sure. At the end of the day, this was an unacceptable performance. I agree with you. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about this. There's no way to make any excuses for him. The offensive line did their job. There was separation by the receivers. There were opportunities for plays to be made, and he simply didn't make them. He simply did not make them. There were a couple of forces. His inability to get through his reads is becoming troubling. That's not something that I saw last year. I didn't see a guy that got fixated on a read and refused to move on. That's a new bad habit that he may have formulated here. And another week, another forced fumble from him. I don't know if that's going to help him speed up his process or not. Maybe that forces him to not trust his offensive line, even though he looked like he was trusting them a little bit more today. The screen pass, I didn't talk about this. He threw a screen 5 yards over J.D. McKissic's head. Again, lack of touch. Almost got picked off. Like, what are we doing, man? You can't throw a screen over a couple of bodies and drop it into your guy? Really smart. Really tough to watch at times. Thank you for the super chat. Jordan Light, the GOAT. Let's see. Got another super chat here from... This next one is from Jose Martin. Thank you for the super chat, Jose. He says, Dwayne is still better than Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones had 2 interceptions in his first game, 1 in his second game, and 1 in his third game. I'm not even into comparing him to Daniel Jones discussion, even though, I think Daniel Jones is on a really bad team. For all the shit that I talked about Daniel Jones, if he were here on this team, I actually think he would be better than him being in New York, where there's no talent and their offensive line isn't good and they're not good on defense. If you put Daniel Jones on this team, I think he might actually be a lot better than what we're getting out of Dwayne right now. I'm not here to make those comparisons, though, because I wasn't a Daniel Jones fan either, and I didn't want him in the draft either. So I'm worried about our quarterback. I don't care about, that's what losing teams do. That's a losing mentality to say, hey, well, at least we're better than those other losers. No, that's not what we're striving and attaining to be. We're not striving to just be better than the Giants. Okay? They stink just like we do. Okay? We're not looking to point at the Giants and say, well, their quarterback situation stinks. We could be the Giants. No, we want to be good. I don't care about we're better than the Eagles or I don't care about any of that stuff. We need a quarterback that can lead us, that can give us a chance to not just win the division, but win a Super Bowl. That's what we're looking for. We're not looking to compare ourselves to, the Daniel Jones is struggling. I don't give a shit about what Daniel Jones is doing right now. Could care less. He could be tearing it up right now for all I care. We need to find our guy that's tearing it up. We need to find the guy that stops us from looking for another quarterback, that gives us confidence in each and every single game that we go in that we can win. We don't have that right now. Thank you for the super chat, Jose Martin. Got another super chat here from Dora Gunner. Dora Gunner writes, still optimistic about Haskins, but definitely starting to rethink my opinion. Like we said, we will know by the bye week. Again, I'm not giving up on him. I haven't given up on him, but I'm starting to trend towards he's not the guy. And that needle was, and before the season started, a lot of you were MVP for Haskins. He's going to do this and that. My needle was pointing towards we got the guy. My needle was really pointing towards we got the guy. After week 2's performance, that needle was kind of towards the halfway point of the tank. It wasn't quite at the halfway mark, but I started leaning towards that halfway mark. Like, I don't know about this dude. Starting to see some of the same shits we saw early in his career. And now, after this game, the needle it's inching towards that quarter of a tank mark. It's not quite an E yet, where I totally have checked out on Haskins and I'm done. But I'm halfway in between a half a tank and the quarter of a tank mark. So right now, I've still got confidence that this guy can turn it around and he's got time. But I'm starting to lean in the wrong direction. I'm now past that half a tank mark in the wrong direction. Trending towards he's not the guy. And once I get to that point, there's no turning back for me. You can't really convince me otherwise. It took me a long time to get there with Robert Griffin III. I wanted to believe, even that last year that he started, the preseason, before they announced that he wasn't going to start. Remember that preseason that he started early on? And I even tried to be convinced then. And then in that preseason, I realized he's not the guy. He's not. He got hurt that preseason, and they went in with Kirk, and that was it. He wasn't the guy. He wasn't the guy. And it took me, I didn't want, because 2012 was so electrifying, I wanted to believe that that was still in there. With Dwayne, the last two of the games of the season last year were so refreshing and so intriguing that I started to think, this guy could be it. We could have found our guy. It doesn't seem that way right now. But as you mentioned, there's more time. I haven't given up on him either, Dork Gunner. Thank you for the super chat. Got another one here from Jeff Antonio. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, Jeff Antonio. Let's see. DCJ with a super chat here. The O-line needs time. Struggles are going to continue. All is new and rushed off-season. Decision-making will improve when number 7 becomes more comfortable. I hope that's the case. I really do. You know, but right now, I can't really say that that's going to be the case. So, I just, you want to say that when he gets more comfortable, but I don't think that fixes his accuracy issues. Like, if this was a decision-making problem and you say, well, you know, you could kind of rationalize and justify, well, maybe he'll find a way to go here or there. But that's not what we're looking at here. We're watching a guy that just struggles to hit guys that aren't 5 to 7 yards away from him. You know, guys that are down the field running, you know, away from him as a target, he just seems to struggle. And that's a problem right now. Rob Yu says, Apke was really solid today. We'll watch the film. I'm not going to commit to that statement. Thank you for doubling up. Double up. I'm not going to commit to that statement yet. Because even on the one where he could have picked it off, that was another poor angle by Apke. If that ball is laid out towards the end zone, that's another touchdown. That's a touchdown for Odell Beckham. That was a poorly thrown ball by Baker Mayfield, and he should have paid for it. But, you know, Apke just happened to be in the right spot because of the poor angle that he took. So I'm not willing to give him any props for what he did today. The film will tell the story. We'll see. Yeah, he didn't do anything egregious today, that's for sure. Thank you for that super chat, Rob Yu. Key himself says, let's see where we at. Key himself says, Apke's play makes me wonder how bad Davis was. Well, Sean Davis wasn't a guy that I was extremely high, you know, coming out of Pittsburgh on anyway, but he just didn't get a lot of reps. They were all in on Apke, and you know, Cameron Curl came in and showed them some things, and so Sean Davis had to be really regular. Essentially, what it amounts to, he had to be really regular for them to feel like, not only are you not good enough to beat out Troy Apke, but we like this rookie Cameron Curl better than you. And they had already paid Sean Davis's money, so it's not like, you know, they were worried about a money thing. They just cut him loose. So that tells you that they weren't really that high on Sean Davis. King of the North, thank you for the super chat. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, King of the North, as always. Writes, Dwayne Haskins improved every game last year. At what point do we start calling out QB coach and Turner? His fundamentals look worse. Well, he improved last year every game because he started from such a low point. You know, the first time we saw him was against the Giants. It couldn't get much worse than that. The next time we saw him was against Minnesota. That was worse. It wasn't worse than the first performance, but it wasn't much better. So there was nowhere but up to go from there. This year, a lot more expectations, a lot more being put on his plate, and he's not handling it well right now. So the bar was set really high for him starting out the season. You know, and we knew that there was going to be some setbacks, and we knew there was going to be some struggles with this offense. We knew all of these things, but we still envisioned a Dwayne Haskins that looked like a guy that we could build around. We still envisioned that. Even with, the play caller needing to adjust to his pieces, Dwayne adjusting to a new play caller, all of the different things that, could go wrong, some injuries now along the offensive line or on this offense and on defense as well. Emmett's probably going to miss some significant time. I think he broke his wrist. I think he broke his hand. That's not good because we already didn't have enough weapons to begin with. But all that means is more Gandy Golden and more Isaiah Wright. But you're going to probably have to make a move at receiver, or we're going to see more Cam Sims now. But at the end of the day, we thought we would see a quarterback taking strides to let us know, hey, we got the right guy here. We're not running in place or even running backwards. We're going in the right direction. We got the right guy. We're moving forward with the right guy. He's getting experience. This is all valuable. And moving forward, these are all things that we can take into the next game and really feel good about it. That's not what we're doing right now. We're looking at Dwayne and we're questioning whether we got the right guy under center or not. And that's not what we thought we would be doing 3 weeks into the season. I knew there was going to be a slow start. I talked about this all offseason long. Hey, offense is going to start slow. But I thought we were going to see Dwayne looking more like he did in week 1. That's what I envisioned. 17 to 31, 170 some odd yards passing, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Those were the kind of stats. You call them Alex Smith stats all you want, whatever. I thought that's the kind of Dwayne we were going to be seeing early in the season. Not overwhelming, but a guy that wasn't going to turn it over and a guy that looks like he's figuring it out. And at some point he's going to put it together and become a stud. That's not what we're seeing. We're seeing a guy right now that looks like he's on a track to become Blake Bortles. One of those types of quarterbacks. And you can't win with those guys in this league. You just can't. Thank you for the super chat. Teddy Picasso, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate you. Got another super chat here. This next one is from the Juice Alert. And Juice Alert writes, need full 16 to judge number 7, but future equals boom or bust. That's what I'm leaning towards. Like, I need a full season. Because the light bulb may come on for him in week 8. And he may start clicking and firing on all cylinders at that point, for all we know. We could get more of this moving forward the next 3 weeks. We'll come here and be pissed off. And then week 8, the light bulb just comes on. And he goes off for 370, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, leads us to a victory. And you're like, whoa, where did that come from? And then the next week he follows that up with a 2-touchdown, 287-yard, 27 to 33 performance. And you're like, man, this guy looks like a totally different quarterback. Night and day from earlier in the season. We don't know. We don't know. And that's why I'm not willing to give up on him. But it's not trending in the right direction right now. And I told you, you know it when you see it. I'm not seeing it right now. And that's the problem. Is I've seen it with him before. That's why I won't give up on him. Had I not seen what I saw at the end of last season, I would probably be off of the Dwayne Haskins train already. But I saw some things last year that leads me to believe he can do this. Not just the Giants and Eagles games either. There were some other games in there. Carolina was impressive. I thought he did some good things against Green Bay on the road last year. Like, there were some really good performances last season where I said, okay, I see it. I'm not seeing that right now. And they talked about him having a lack of confidence last year at one point. I'm seeing a guy right now that seems to be struggling with a little bit of confidence right now. I'm seeing that. Thank you for the super chat. Juice Alert. Let's see. Got another super chat. This one here is from Will Diggs. Thank you for the super chat, Will Diggs. Greatly appreciate you. Will Diggs writes, you are asking a lot from the defense to defend a shortened field after a turnover with Chubb and Hunt in the backfield. Haskins did them no favors. Yeah, I am asking a lot of the defense, but that's what you ask of an elite defense. This is not an elite defense. So, absolutely I am. They had opportunities. Let's not act like the turnovers were 1st and goal from the 3-yard line. These turnovers were 1st and 10 from the Washington 33, the Washington 27, the Washington 70. There was enough grass to defend the forced field goals, and they didn't. That last interception that he threw, that was basically at the 40 or maybe close to midfield. There was enough green grass to defend it. You didn't have to give up a touchdown. You didn't have to give up a touchdown there. They did. I'm not making any excuses for anybody. If you want to be considered an upper echelon defense, I'm not telling you that every time there's a sudden change of possession, you got to go out and find a way to force a field goal. But at some point, you got to bow your back and say, all right, you can't have a touchdown this time. Especially if you're just going to turn around and hand it off on first down and second down. That's when you got to say, all right, Baker, it's 3rd and 8. Because early in the game, Baker won't doing shit on 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 9. We were getting off the field. He wasn't doing a damn thing. But when you allow them to run for 6 on first down, run for 7 on second down, now it's first down again. So guess what they're going to do? Hand it off again. Okay, you only get 3 this time, or you only get 2 this time. Hell, you may only get 1 this time. But then they have the confidence to run it again on second down. And now they get 7. Now it's 3rd and 3. Hell, they could run it again if they want. Then that's when they drop Baker back. And all of a sudden, Odell Beckham is running a 12-yard comeback, and he's wide-ass open. Move the sticks. So they had chances to get off the field. I'm not going to allow them to skate. I'm not making no excuses for them. Get off the damn field once or twice. Force a field goal attempt. They weren't able to do it. You can't go over in that situation. One of those turnovers has to turn into a field goal. At least one. Give us a chance. I'm not saying that the defense is to blame for this. They fought valiantly, especially with all the injuries that they incurred. They fought valiantly, but at the end of the day, you got to find a way. Grit your teeth. Find a way to make a play. It can't just be Montez Sweat out there. And I actually thought Jack Del Rio had a bad blitz. And I talked about living by the blitz, dying by the blitz. I'm not going to kill Jack. I love Jack. But we had them on the ropes. 3rd and 6. We had forced 2 straight punts to start the second half, scored 2 touchdowns. And he came with a Landon Collins safety blitz off the edge and left Odell Beckham wide open over the middle of the football field. First down, and it was like that first down opened the floodgates. We couldn't get a stop to save our life after that, for whatever reason. Thank you for the super chat, Will Diggs. DCJ, thank you for doubling up. Double up. DCJ writes, in my opinion, number 7 is not comfortable with the playbook or play calls. Decision making and deep passing, he is uncomfortable still. Next week versus Ravens could be bad. It will be bad. It will be bad. And it's going to be bad for this defense more so than the offense. We expect the offense to struggle next week. This is the first week I go into the game thinking, man, I don't see any way in hell, especially without Chase Young and probably Matt Ioannidis as well. This is the first week defensively I go into the game thinking we got no shot. Every week this season so far, I've thought defensively, they're going to give us a chance. This is the first week where I say we got no chance defensively at all. Not a single one. Thank you for the super chat, DCJ. Joe Rockhead J. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Joe Rockhead J. Greatly appreciate you. Joe Rockhead writes, Dwayne playing less safe equals Kirk Cousins 2014. Look, you know what's crazy is Kirk started out really rough. A lot of you wanted to abandon ship with Kirk when he was here. Remember that first time around, Kirk got benched for Colt McCoy. He was not good. And then it wasn't until we came back around to Kirk that second time. And I know a lot of you still don't love Kirk Cousins. I don't give a shit. Kirk Cousins should still be here. But that's another discussion for another day. At the end of the day, Kirk Cousins owns a lot of Washington football passing records, including passing yards and touchdowns in a season. And he didn't start out doing it. Just so you know, he started out really rough. And then he got another opportunity and he lit it up and he never looked back. And so that's why I'm not willing to give up, because I've seen quarterbacks take 3 years to figure it out in this league. You know, it's just unfortunate because of the timetable with this football team. You're looking at this defense and you're looking at all these guys on rookie contracts and you want to expedite this thing. You want to start trying to be competitive next year with Daron Payne coming up and you got to make a decision on John Allen and, you know, before you know it, Terry's up. Like, you want to start maximizing these rookie contracts while you still can. And if Dwayne isn't the guy, then you can't, you know? And again, I'm not looking to do that with Alex Smith. I'm not looking to do that with a 36-year-old quarterback. I'm looking to do that with a young guy that I can grow with. That's the difference. Some of y'all don't care who it is. You just want to win ball games. You're short-sighted. You're very, very short-sighted. I'm looking at the big picture. I want to win not just this year, not just next year. I want to win for the next decade. I want to be in the discussion for the next decade. You got to have a signal caller first, though. Got to get that out of the way first. And so, so Joe Rockhead, this isn't about playing less safe. This is about making better decisions and better throws with the football. That's what this is about. This isn't about, oh man, he didn't read coverage right there. This is, hey, I'm taking the defender right to where I want to go with the football. All he's got to do is look this way. And then if you know this is where you want to go, come back and go to it. He's getting the football, and for the next 3 seconds, he's staring at the guy that he wants to throw the football to. It's not hard. It's not rocket science. On the touchdown pass, we're going to watch film, and I'm going to show you. On the touchdown pass, Dwayne is staring to his right the entire time. And it takes coverage away, and he comes backside to his left to Inman because he knew that's where he wanted to go with the football and delivers a bullet. That's all I'm saying. And maybe I'm giving him too much credit. And maybe he wanted to work front side of that play. And then he went through his progressions and he found Inman backside and let it rip. But again, it's no different. You take coverage away from where you want to go. You manipulate them with your eyes, and then you go where you ultimately want to go with the football. He wasn't doing that in this game. He was just taking guys straight to the football. And then when opportunities presented themselves, he was missing. And again, there were some throws he made where guys didn't make catches. But for the most part, he was missing some throws. And the one that I keep thinking about is the Terry McLaurin one back of the end zone. I need that one. He came back and redeemed himself the very next snap, but I need that one. Thank you for the super chat, Joe Rockhead J. Let's see. Got another super chat here. This one is from Barrett Downing, my man BD. Thank you for the super chat as always, BD. He writes, the light has to come on for Haskins soon. If not, he will be holding a clipboard. Eventually, I think that's going to be the case if he doesn't turn things around. He just got to be better. Whatever he has to do, he's got to be better. It's not good enough right now. It's just simply not. Brandon Hayes says, crazy scenario. We pick in top 5 to 10 picks in 21. Do we trade up for a quarterback or stay and choose best available? The board is really going to decide that, Brandon, honestly speaking. It's hard to say right now because we don't know how this season is going to go in terms of how bad or good we're going to finish. If you finish 6-10, 7-9, more likely than not, you're going to finish outside of the top 10 and you're going to have to trade up because I surmise when we get to the end of this season, 4 or 5 teams are going to need a quarterback. We're going to be among them if this doesn't change. And it's going to be an arms race for who can get up there first. Now, generally speaking, if you're picking in the top 5, most likely than not, you're there because you need a quarterback. So, if you're in the top 5, at least 2 of those top 5 teams more likely than not needs a quarterback. If not 2 of the top 5, 2 of the top 7, like we saw in this year's draft with the Chargers and the Dolphins. It was 2 of the top 7 teams needed a quarterback. Dolphins were what? The Chargers were 6. So 2 of the top 6 teams needed a quarterback. So you're going to find yourself right on the outside looking in. We know the Jaguars could potentially be a team looking for a quarterback next year. If they're not good this season. The Panthers could be in a position where they're looking for a quarterback. So that's another team that's going to stink this year. They could be in the top 5 looking for a quarterback. The Jets could be in that same boat. I don't think they're willing to give up on Darnold, but if he stinks this year, you could get a whole new staff in there, and they may say, hey, I want this guy at quarterback right here. I don't want Sam Darnold. We'll see. It's a lot of football left to be played. Hard to really make that determination right now, but I can tell you this much. Unless we're 4-12, 5-11 at best, you're not getting, and I don't want any parts of 5-11, 6-10. I don't want any parts of that. But that may be what you have to do to get yourself an elite quarterback without having to give up a huge chunk of either this draft or future drafts to come up and get a guy. But we'll see what happens. It's hard to really make that determination right now. It's too early in the season really to say. Thank you for the super chat, Brandon Hayes. Cher Lewis, thank you for the super chat, Cher, who writes, you guys are looking at this all wrong. This was clearly a newer type of offense that Turner is dabbling in, which looks good. Be patient with Dwayne Haskins. Again, I feel like you're missing a point, Cher. This is where I think we're a little off, Cher, is that it's not about the offense. It's not about where he's going with the football. It's about when he decides where he's going with the football, what he's doing. It's about him predetermining. I tweeted out something from Dan Orlovsky that I thought was pretty interesting because I said something similar on my film breakdown that Dwayne is predetermining where he's going with the football pre-snap sometimes. And unless you got man-to-man and you're saying to yourself, I got one-on-one with Terry, I don't think you should be predetermining where you're going anywhere. You should be predetermining a concept. Okay, this is what they're giving us. This is the look that we're going to get here. I think this is where I should be going with the football, but you shouldn't be already making up in your mind, I'm definitely throwing the football here no matter what. And I think he's doing it. On that second pick, the one that was picked off by Malcolm Smith, you can't tell me he didn't predetermine pre-snap. I'm going to Logan Thomas here, no matter what. He stared him down for 3.5 seconds and then let it rip, even though the linebacker was watching him and keying his eyes and walked right in front of the football. He determined already before the snap, I'm throwing the ball to Logan Thomas no matter what. You can't do that. That has nothing to do with the offensive play call. It has nothing to do with Scott Turner and this being a new offense. Terry McLaurin's running open on a corner route in the back of the end zone, and he misses him. That has nothing to do with Scott Turner and a new offense. That's just simply Dwayne Haskins missing. He calls a bootleg, a great call on first down to get you some easy yards. And Dwayne throws it 5 yards over the guy's head for a 7-yard pickup. That has nothing to do with play calling. That's all on the quarterback. So, the first interception, over the middle of the field, you can't fit that football in there. There's a defender underneath. There's a safety over the top. It's first down. You don't have to do that. That has nothing to do with Scott Turner's play call. You don't like it? Run. You don't like it? Check it down. You don't like it? Throw it away. Live to fight another day. But to blame this on play calling and that this is all new, and at some point you got to stop making excuses when they don't fit. You can't make the type of mistakes he made and blame it on this as being a new offense. It's one thing if guys are running wrong routes and Dwayne looks flustered because, he doesn't know where to go with the football. Then you can say, hey, man, it's a learning curve. Like this offense. But when you see guys open and he's missing, or you see some poor decisions being made, and I didn't necessarily love the play call. I thought we got away from the run way too much. I thought Dwayne threw it way too many times early in this ballgame. But even then, in saying that, I thought that there were some safe throws. They were easy completions. There were completions that were an extension of the run game. A lot of these quick hitters to Isaiah Wright and all of these Terry McLaurin quick hitters, these were extensions of the run game. These were easy completions. So even though we weren't running it enough, I thought we could have run it more. I still felt like these are easy, safe completions. I don't have a problem with it. So, but we'll get into all of that on the film breakdown. I appreciate the super chat. Got another super chat here. This one is from 99 Problems Chase Ain't One, who writes, Montez Sweat was a beast. Bama boys looked like trash. Daron Payne should have been Tremaine Edmonds or safety Derwin James, period. This guy hasn't shown me jack. Look, I'm not going to go down that road again. You know how I feel about Daron Payne. We should have had Tremaine Edmonds. That's the guy that I wanted. Derwin James hasn't been healthy. So, you could easily say, well, Derwin James wouldn't have been doing squat either. He can't stay healthy. But Tremaine Edmonds is the guy we should have had here. He should have been the guy that should have been that pick. But that's nor here nor there. At the end of the day, Montez Sweat was absolutely fantastic today. That's what we want from him, especially with no Chase Young for the foreseeable future. You're going to need guys like him to step up. But the guys on the inside on Bama, on the defensive line, Allen and Payne, there's a ceiling on those guys. There's only so much that they can do. And I've long said Payne is not a pass rusher. He's not. That's why Ioannidis is so important. Payne is a hell of a run stuffer, though. He's a hell of a run, but I don't like spending a top 20 pick on a run stuffer. I told you guys that when the pick was made, and you guys tried to crucify me. And what has he done to show you that he's anything more than a run-stopping interior defensive tackle? And I get it, it's a different system. He's being asked to do different things. Give him time. But I think what I think. Until he shows me otherwise, I'm going to continue to think that way. He could easily pop off and end up with 8.5 sacks this year and come on late in the season because, remember, he's being allowed the one gap for the first time in his NFL career. He's been a two-gapper this entire time. He's been asked to play the nose, which is really not what he's built to do. So give him some time, but I think I know what he is already. Thank you for the super chat. 99 Problems Chase ain't one. Got another super chat from 99 Problems Chase ain't one. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. 99 Problems writes, Dwayne's flat foot arm throws, no touch, no vision. Yeah, that's a problem. His mechanics stink. We already knew that when we drafted him. But even at times last year, even with the mechanics being a little off, he still was able to do some things with some touch and some accuracy. Like somebody said, it just seems like he's regressed a bit. To me, it does at least. Thank you for that super chat. Got another one here from Brandon Hayes. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Brandon Hayes. Greatly appreciate you. Brandon writes, excuse me. I think there's this thing that's not teachable or coachable when it comes to Haskins. His body language is horrible. He's a young quarterback. You see that sometimes from some guys in terms of body language. I don't really love his body language, but it's not something I'm going to kill him for. He's got to be better, period. We're only analyzing his body language because he's stinking it up right now. If he were performing average and he had the same body language, you wouldn't really be that upset with it. If this were a 1 touchdown, no interception, 26-20 victory for Washington, you wouldn't be talking about his body language right now. But it's a lot easier to attack his body language, which isn't good. I'm not denying that. But it's a lot easier to nitpick and start talking about his body language when he's 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, a fumble, and it was his turnovers that were really the deciding factor in this game. I mean, let's face it, the Browns scored 24 points off of 5 Washington touchdowns, or 5 Washington turnovers in this game. The Browns scored 34 points in the entire game. 24 of them came off of Washington turnovers. Let that sink in for a second. Okay? So, and they were all from Dwayne Haskins. All of them. Now, the last one, Jaron Christian got beat. But you'd like Haskins to be a little bit stronger with the football. Hell, he almost fumbled on, I don't know if you saw the opening possession of the game where he gets sacked by Sheldon Richardson. That ball almost came out. He barely held on to that thing. So his ball security stinks right now. It's 3 straight games with a lost fumble. Be stronger with the damn football in the pocket. Almost fumbled away a damn handoff to Gibson. Ball slips out of his hands. He wasn't good today. Tell me that has something to do with the play calling too. That he fumbled a snap or fumbled a handoff and almost gave it away to the Browns after converting on a 4th down. Anyway, that's going to do it. I thank you guys for joining me on Washington Football Overtime. We'll have a lot more tomorrow on Washington Football Nightly. And also we'll have some film breakdown that will be pretty interesting to watch and see what the hell actually happened. I think we know a lot of what happened, but, the film tells all the stories. There are no lies that are told by the eye in the sky. So I can't wait to take a look at that. I really appreciate you guys joining me and chopping it up. All I can tell you is another loss. Have patience. This was how the season more than likely was going to go. I know after watching these first 3 weeks, it's easy to come down hard on Dwayne. It's easy to come down on, the staff, whether you want to single out Scott Turner or you want to single out, somebody even called out Ken Zampese, the quarterback's coach. It's easy to start pointing fingers. Don't point fingers. Don't point fingers. That's what bad teams do. That's what bad organizations do. You got to figure it out. And I'm talking to the fan base. Hopefully they're not pointing fingers in the locker room. I don't think they are. But when you start pointing fingers and there's infighting, I'm trying to galvanize the fan base. Because that doesn't help. When you start pointing fingers, well, it's the offensive coordinator or it's the quarterback's coach. It's the quarterback. we can all see that there are things that need to be fixed and cleaned up and better. That's obvious. If we can see it, we know the coaching staff can see it. All we can do is support them in whatever decisions they make and hope that eventually all the things that they're preaching, all the things that they're doing starts to take effect, and we start seeing real examples of change and progression on the football field. That's all we can hope. But we'll have more of this tomorrow. I thank you guys for joining me on this program. Remember, if you haven't already done so, what are you waiting on? Sub this channel up and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. Leave a like on the way out. It's going to be rough, man. It's going to be a long season. If things don't change, it's going to be a long season. But there are some bright spots, and we talked about some of them. We'll talk about more of them tomorrow. You guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Enjoy the rest of the football. And we'll talk more about this team ad nauseum tomorrow. You guys take it easy. Have a good one.